Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So in this world economic depression caused by deregulation, privatization, and the genocidal litany of the Austrian school and the Chicago boys, we've got the defined benefit pensions having taken a hit of 20 to 30%. And now the Social Security Administration says there should be no cost of living increase for 2009 to 10 because there has been no inflation. And this is simply a big lie because the market basket that this is based on is completely obsolete and does not reflect insurance, be it liability, medical, or other kinds, education expenses, and other things that have been going up. So now we have Obama. Obama realizes that he has thoroughly antagonized senior citizens. Medicare recipients have somehow figured out that he wants to loot $500 billion out of Medicare, destroying the effectiveness of this landmark, a very successful Great Society program going back to LBJ in 1965. Obama comes on the scene once again as the destroyer of the social and economic gains of the American people that have been won through decades and decades of struggle. So Obama says, throw them a sop of $250 each. That would come to 12 to 13 billion. The Washington Post, of course, scandalized the Washington Post, the house organ of the Federal Reserve System. That's what they are. Washington Post says, horrors, horrors, that's too much. There are apparently even Republican plans to increase the benefits by a percentage. Now, you can see what the Republicans are aiming at. If you increase it by a percentage, you're helping the more affluent recipients of Social Security. In other words, the higher your benefit, the more money you'll get. The lump sum approach, equal for everybody, is a good approach, but the $250 is inadequate. Because remember, 401ks have been destroyed, IRAs destroyed, defined benefit plans are in big trouble. Social Security is all that's left. It's got to be increased by large lump sum amounts equal for everybody so that the Social Security pension becomes a living pension and not simply a way to vegetate into poverty. There's also the question, where should this money come from? Congressman Boehner of the Republicans says it should be paid out of unspent TARP funds. But wait a minute, there's a Social Security trust fund there, Congressman Boehner, and you know that quite well. So it should come out of the money that has already been accumulated and which exists there in the form of U.S. government securities. Another one is unemployment insurance. Unemployment insurance needs to be extended. We've got 10 million unemployed. The number of people who have now exhausted their benefits is numbered in the millions. They are essentially destitute. We've got to extend the unemployment benefits. Who comes on the scene now? The reactionary Republican Senator Coburn, a dyed-in-the-wool free marketeer, a servant of Wall Street, whatever cultural populist cloak he uses out there in Oklahoma. He says, no, I'm going to stop the unemployment insurance extensions from going through because I want that to be paid also out of the unused portions of the bailout. Wait a minute again, Senator Coburn. Employers and employees pay into a fund which is set up under the Social Security Act of 1935, which is there for unemployment insurance. So as long as that money is not used up, it can be spent. So what are you doing there, Coburn? This is it's a transparent attempt to sabotage any attempt to shore up the crumbling social safety net. So this is the situation. Cap and trade. We've got new ammunition against the cap and trade monstrosity being proposed by Obama. I guess the most important ammunition is that it's very cold. Here we are in Washington, D.C. in mid-October, and the temperature is just above 40 degrees in the daytime. we've got freezes in the western suburbs of Washington, D.C. in the middle of October. We had snow in Denver last week, and now this week we've got snow in north central Pennsylvania, snow going into New York State. We've got snow in Connecticut into Massachusetts, and I believe even Rhode Island. Temperatures in the 30s in New York City. What global warming? Where is global warming? It's a fraud. Call a halt on this stuff already. We had early snow in Iceland. In Iceland, it came down on the 30th of September in the hills above Reykjavik. And we've got reports from Vienna, Austria. Early snow there, too. What is this lunatic demagogy of global warming? Stop it already. Of course, we've got ads here in Washington, D.C. Shell Oil, a branch of Royal Dutch Shell, of that nefarious Anglo-Dutch combine that we have learned to look to for threats. Shell Oil loves cap and trade. They want more and more cap and trade. The Congressional Budget Office, in the person of Elmendorf, the resident bean counter, has conceded that the cap and trade bill will cut the growth of U.S. domestic product. Now, that's obviously a wildly understated estimate of the true cost and the true damage by this, but the Congress apparently lives by the CBO, so there it is. It's going to undermine the growth of GDP. Waxman-Markey is the name of this bill. It's got to be stopped. We have to say no. We're also told that other private studies say 2 million people will lose their jobs thanks to Waxman-Markey, and I'm sure that's an understatement. Remember, green jobs, the more green jobs you have, the poorer you get. Green jobs are anti-economical. They require subsidies. If green jobs were economical, then go out and create them. But no, they've got to turn as rent seekers to government to get subsidies for the green jobs. And remember, if you impose that cap and trade, the export price of U.S. grain, corn, rice, and related products will double at the minimum. That's even before Goldman Sachs comes in with a speculative bubble in carbon offsets. That will mean that of the billion people who are on the verge of starvation in Africa, South Asia, and poorer parts of Latin America, hundreds of millions will die. Hundreds of millions will die for a theory about the weather. Is that leftism? That's an oligarchical, aristocratic, elitist theory of leftism that says we're concerned about the planet, and hundreds of millions of impoverished masses can very well go and die. Now, let's shift gears. We want to look at the, one other interesting point. China has already defaulted on derivatives. Remember, we had this interesting report some weeks ago that China was considering defaulting on certain derivatives. These are Chinese state-owned companies. They have apparently now gone ahead and said some of these derivatives are just too much, and we will not pay them. So there's a concrete step away from the world dominion of derivatives, which is obviously the goal of the International Monetary Fund under Dominique Strauss-Kahn, who says that in the scale of human values, derivatives come first, and human life isn't also ran or does not even appear. Let's change gears now to Afghanistan. This is the great travail of the Obama regime is now Afghanistan, and we have to get back to the question of the death panel. There's a death panel. There's a death panel in the White House on Afghanistan that has now had 5 out of its 6 planned meetings, and we're still waiting for the death count, the body count that's going to come out of this. We'll be back in a minute.